And at the end of the day, the thing is, manned space flight, kind of awesome, kind of wish I could be part of it, but there isn't the budget in the world right now to do it right. We want to learn, we want to explore, we want to do science, and we have to use robots to do that.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Should I just calm down?
No, bring it on, Dr. T.
You're supposed to.
Testify.
Plus, we got questions.
Tell the truth.
And I want to make sure we get the questions, but I got to rebut that. Okay. To say there's no budget in the world, the federal budget is 3-point-something trillion dollars.
Doesn't go as far as it used to.
If you...
Yeah, it used to be real money.
If you want to count to a trillion, it would take you 100,000 years, and that's one number per second every waking and sleeping moment of your life. That's how big that number is, point one. Point two, it's not that we can't afford it, it's that we have chosen to not afford it. I tweeted recently that the U.S. bailout of the banks exceeded the 50-year budget of NASA. You want to put something in context. If you want to do something with $3.5 trillion, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you judge to be important to the profile of the nation that you were trying to build and to sustain. So I submit to you that when you look at the NASA budget, and I'm tired of saying this, but I'll have to say it again, the NASA budget is 0.4 of 1 penny on a tax dollar. If I held up the tax dollar and I cut horizontally into it 0.4 of 1% of its width, it doesn't even get you into the ink. So I will not accept a statement that says we can't afford it.
I gotta say, that's Dr. T.
And do the thing.
When I really do look at it differently. If you're going to tell me I can cut that much of a bill off, or right up to the ink, that's a lot of money. I mean, to me, if you gave me the budget's being slashed from 19 to 18.7 now to 16 point something.
Yeah.
If you gave me $16.9 billion, I should be able to do something. Really, I should be able to get something done. But we have a legacy of these NASA centers all over the country that's left over from the Cold War, and that's got to be shaken out. It's a long way to go.
But there's another, I mean, the James Webb Space Telescope overrun is less than the cost of air conditioning in Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm right there. No, I'm a huge fan of James Webb. I mean, bring it on.
Yes. And he said that one of the elephants in the room around space travel, in terms of tourism, space tourism, is the impact on global warming. Do any of you know anything about that? He said it was astronomical. I forget the figures.
Is he talking about the carbon footprint?
Yes, mostly, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it is kind of gross.
Well, we'll cross that bridge, people. And climate change, is the biggest problem. And so when you look at the Earth from space, I submit you are going to make discoveries about climate change that you wouldn't make.
But we're cutting looking at Earth from space. That's the problem. We've also cut the missions that are going to look at Earth from space to probe climate change.
What's the carbon footprint on a hydrogen-oxygen fuel tank?
It's the fuel tank isn't the thing. It's hauling the fuel there, cooling the...
Cooling it down.
It may be making the tank.
Petroleum products that maintain the refrigerator and all that stuff.
It's like your Prius is made of plastic, and that's a problem.
And they're solid rocket.
But we got to get questions. And the solid rockets.
I have a very simple and slightly juvenile question for all 5 of you. I just want to know what each of you think is like the next big thing that we should be doing. Like, there's a lot of people that say Mars, Earth-like planets, or robotic missions. What is each of your next big thing that you think we should be doing?
You double NASA's budget and you do it all.
The trouble is you won't do it all if you double the NASA budget.
So for me, there's 2 things. I want to know why the universe is accelerating. That's a big deal for me because I suspect it's the next relativity. It's the next classical physics. It's the next world-changing and maybe even source of energy. Then the other thing...
No, it'll never... Sorry. Let me make that clear.
You're not sorry about anything.
It won't be?
Except being here. No, anyway, no, it won't be. It can't be a source of energy. Please don't say that. You're going to encourage lots of crackpots. It is not a source of energy. It's the energy of empty space. If the energy of empty space could get any lower by working, then it wouldn't have energy. It's not a source of energy. Please don't tell people.
We will never break the sound barrier.
Yeah, exactly.
We will never...
No, the energy of empty space is...
Actually, I agree with Lawrence.
Well,
I'm just giving
no,
him a
my
hard time.
claim is that by looking for this thing, you will make discoveries. That's my claim. Then the other thing that I'd like to specifically do, I'd like to send the right instrument to some gully on Mars where there's a underground, undersand glacier oozing super salty water off the wall on a summer day, and look for fossil Mars probes. Yeah. And stranger yet, crazier yet, something that's still alive. If we discovered life on another world, it would change this one in the same way Copernicus and Galileo and those guys changed it. Now, this is something you don't just throw a few $1 trillion at it, you work at it. Take a few decades. But that discovery, or that proof that there was no such thing, it would also be remarkable.
And it wouldn't be that expensive. Most of it could be done without humans.
Yeah, well, humans would build the stuff, I got a feeling.
But I think the discovery of at least conditions for life elsewhere is something that is driving, and probably one of the most interesting things. It doesn't, I agree, I think we need to go to, I would be amazed if we didn't find evidence of life on Mars and find it was our cousins, because we pollute each other. And we've discovered that. The objects go between the two planets, and certainly microbes can live long enough for that short duration. But we'll also look at...
You can find Mars rocks on the moon.
Yeah,
in fact. Yeah.
And you can find them on the Earth. That's right. But, yeah, as we've just heard. But we also want to look for life elsewhere, and we'll be able to eventually be able to image planets and look for oxygen atmospheres, for example, which is... the oxygen on Earth only exists because of life. There was no free oxygen on Earth before life. So that would be a wonderful, wonderful probe. As one of the people who helped discover the energy of empty space, I'm fascinated by it, but I actually think, unfortunately, that's going to be it's unlikely that we're going to learn much about that in the lifetime of anyone in this room experimentally. It's just a problem, and I could go into it, that's very, very, it's the most fundamental problem in science, in my opinion, but I think it's going to require a good idea before an experimental help.
So we shouldn't inspire people to look for it.
Yeah, we should.
Because it's impossible.
Yeah.
I'll add that JWST would go a long way towards figuring out dark energy.
It's just cool.
What?
Yeah. JWST will go a long way towards
Oh,
nailing
it will
down.
not. It'll go a long way towards discovering the primordial black holes and the origin of structure in the universe. That's profoundly interesting, but I think it's unfair to say. I really worry about hyping things when I know they're not going to do what you say they're going to do, and I think JWST is plenty interesting without pretending it's going to tell us anything about dark energy.
Hubble telescope did 100 times more than what anyone ever projected for.
Exactly, but the stuff we didn't expect, not the stuff we did.
Okay, so why don't we...
Well, now hang on.
Okay, so you're saying lower our expectations for the things we expect and heighten our expectations for the things we can't figure out what to predict.
Every time we open a new window on the universe, we are surprised. And
There
that's
you
the reason.
go.
Yeah.
That's the reason to open the new windows. Because you shouldn't listen to theorists like me, because
We figured that out earlier.
Because
No, this is the big thing.
good one. Actually, that's your best line so far, Neil.
So why are you looking at this over this new horizon? What are you going to find? We don't know.
We don't know.
That's
Exactly.
why
It's
we're
a
looking.
surprise.
New Horizons is going to find the surface details of Pluto.
Oh man, that's going to be no. Listen, I took the wheelbarrow full of postcards to Senator Mikulski's office to keep the mission to Pluto going. You know, it's going to arrive in 2015.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. It will be fabulous.
Can I just give my favorite mission, which doesn't exist and isn't funded now, but it'd be
Yeah.
really cool?
Yes.
It would be to go to Jupiter's moon, Europa,
Yeah.
which has an icy
Yeah, I
outer
agree.
surface. The gravitational stress on Europa from Jupiter and other surrounding moons is pumping energy into it, much the same way when you warm up a racquetball by hitting it. You distort it, it bounces back to shape, you're pumping energy into it. That has melted the interior ice. It has had an ocean of liquid water that's been liquid for billions of years. And every place on Earth we find liquid water, we have found life. I want to go ice fishing on Europa, put lower submersible, look around, and for me, the biggest question will be, what do you call that life? It'd have to be like Europeans, right? Because it's Europa. That's what I think.
Europeans.
Well,
Let's get another
I think we
question.
should go a lightning round here,
one
where
more?
only one of us can answer. We
Yeah,
have to
okay.
answer it quickly so we can get through everybody. How about
You
that?
want to talk about dreaming an impossible dream.
We're
Come
not.
on.
Yeah, we're not going to get to everybody, but we're going to have
Lightning
one
round.
more good one here.
Do you think the concept of a space elevator is possible, and if when?
No. Next.
No.
But bear in mind that the space elevator is this thing that's so strong for its weight, you could just take an elevator into space. But once again, the political problems are going to be the hard thing. You know, if the thing comes loose and starts whipping around, you know, and then who's going to build and who's going to be responsible, the ultimate high ground and all that stuff. But
Plus, you might use it to drill into the earth and drop a black hole.
Okay,
that could
next
be just
question.
bad.
One more here.
anyway,
One more.
yeah, and
Here we
those
go.
materials will change
I
the world.
knew it.
Manned interplanetary spacecraft, solid shields, or electromagnetic?
Electromagnetic.
You mean like solar sails?
No, he means shielding from the cosmic
The
rays.
shielding problem.
For cosmic rays.
I'll go electromagnetic, yeah.
I go not at all.
He goes
Surprise.
for cancer.
I rarely have an opinion about hardware.
For real, last question. Here we go.
Why don't we spend more time talking about the economic benefit of big government science, which is technology development, the spin-off of which has paid for the space program dozens of times over?
I agree that every time we spend a lot of money, there are huge spin-offs. But one of the problems that I think about doing that, and the SSC had this problem, is we talked about all the spin-offs of doing particle physics, but we didn't do what Bill said you need to do, which is you can't justify a program by its spin-offs. You got to say it's worth doing because it's worth doing. And if you start to justify it by the spin-offs, people start to say, well, you know, why are you doing it in the first place? So there's no doubt that when we spend any amount of money, we make technological breakthroughs, but I think you have to justify it for its own sake first.